start with a meditation. If you're in a place where it is appropriate to do so, go ahead and close your eyes. Take some long, slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and more peace entering your body and mind. And with every exhale, feel like you can let go of all tension and any and everything that you do not want. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it gently and easily burns away everything that is not like itself. Into this sacred space, we invite the presence of our Creator. To many of us here, that Creator reveals itself as a father and mother, a god and goddess. Into this space, we also invite the presence of our teachers and our angels. We ask that we be guided and led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, more peaceful, more gentle, more loving people. Thank you very much. And if it's appropriate, together we will say, Blessed be. There was a small discussion on, I believe it was the Discord server, about the difference between thaumaturgy and theurgy. And I'd like to use that as a jumping off point for what I wanted to talk about today. Theurgy simply is a high magic. It's another term for high magic. It's magic that's involved with spiritual growth. Things like knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, ascension, those kinds of things. Allowing the divine design of our life to take over. It is magic that enables us to relinquish our personal will in favor of a higher will. Thaumaturgy has to do with practical magic, and it's often our own personal will imposed upon a situation. Neither of them are good or bad or right or wrong, but just suffice it to say that most of us practice a type of hybrid. There used to be this idea that it was one or the other, and that's not really the case, because this is how I see it, how I learned it, and how I teach it. Practical things in our lives come up as reflections of that which is in our unconscious mind. And when things come up, we need to address them. So problems come up. Maybe you have a financial problem, a relationship problem, a health problem, a car problem, whatever. Now, from the old perspective, that old paradigm, is it thaumaturgy or theurgy? You would say, well, I think what I want to do is cast a spell to heal this problem. And so I'm going to come up with the idea of what I want instead of this. I'm going to create a spell. I'm going to visualize. I'm going to do what I need to do and impose my will upon this situation so that it will change. The theurgist would say, well, perhaps that's the will of God that you have that problem. What you want to do is regardless of what's going on in your life, you want to focus on your higher self, and you want to remove yourself from this world completely and focus completely upon spiritual, lofty ideas, and let the practical stuff work itself out. Now, what we would say is the reason that came up was because it needed to be addressed, and that whatever that was that came up, let's say it was a money problem, the problem reflects something in our consciousness, and that it is not God's will for us to have that problem. It is something within our consciousness that is askew that needs to be healed. And therefore, we can take this practical issue to our higher selves, to our holy guardian angel, to our Creator, however we address our theurgy, and allow it to be healed. So you see, it's both. We want it to be very practical. There's no reason for me to have those financial problems. Those financial problems should be healed. But the difference between me saying, I know what I want and therefore it is this, and me saying, I want the divine design instead of this, what we understand is that with the divine design, dealing with practical things through high magic, through theurgy, handles them, but it handles them permanently rather than temporarily. Doing thaumaturgy only by itself is effective, but it's temporary relief. Because this is why, with pure thaumaturgy, without any connection to our soul, it's our personality thinking that it knows what the best solution is and imposing that solution on the situation. Now, if you're a very good magician, a very practiced magician or witch, it will work. But that doesn't guarantee that it will make you happy. So a lot of thaumaturgy, effective thaumaturgy, is akin to rearranging the decks on the Titanic as it's going down. It's like, yes, it worked. Your spell worked. The physical experience that you decided that you wanted occurred, but that didn't really address the problem. It didn't make you happy. It didn't actually change anything other than circumstances. So when we work with thaumaturgy, when we work with practical magic, when we work with things like spells, it behooves us to call into play a higher part of our minds. It behooves us to work with them from the perspective of high magic, so-called high magic or theurgy, and so that we can get our needs met in a permanent way. But the old-fashioned idea of theurgy, there was sort of this tacit implication that problems in the world and physical suffering, something that you just endure and try to just take your mind off because you're just biding your time until some spiritual thing happens later, until you have some sort of spiritual oneness and you're going to jump the abyss and then everything is great. But that's not true. That's not reality. The reason why you have the problems in the physical realm is because there's something askew in your mind, in your deep mind, and it needs to be healed. It needs to be addressed. So those things should clear up. Those things should heal, but they may not heal in the exact form or methodology that you think is going to be the best way. Whereas with pure thaumaturgy, with pure what they would call low magic, I hate that term, but what they used to call low magic, it doesn't matter. It's a very sorcerous intent. It's just my way, my way, my way. Focus on me, me, me. And you'll probably get it. But you're not wise enough to know what's going to make you happy. So you'll get it, and then you're still stuck. And then what that does is it mires you into illusion, thinking, well, look at how powerful I am. I can change things, so I'll change it again, and I'll change it again. And you're basically living from one glamour to the next glamour to the next glamour. And you don't want glamour in your life. And when I say glamour, I'm not talking about having a glamorous life. Glamour, throwing a glamour on something means throwing an illusion on it. So you're replacing one illusion for another, for another, for another, and thinking, look at how powerful I am, look at how powerful I am. But you're not powerful. You've just figured out how to change one illusion for another. But if you're truly powerful, you're keyed into the divine design of your life, and you say this or something even better. And when it's this or something even better, it opens up, it cracks open your mind a little bit so that higher self can come in and say, whoa, 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 you're way off track. Let's fix this. Let's alter course. And you say, yeah, let's do it. The thing still clears up, but it clears up in a way that you would have never understood. You would have never thought about. You would have never even considered. So working high magic for practical purposes is ultimately my way of doing stuff, the way I teach. I want everything to be very practical. If there's a problem in your life, it must be addressed. It must be healed. But if we heal it from a theurgistic way rather than a purely thaumaturgistic way, from a high magic way versus a low magic way, what you're going to do is you're going to have a best of both worlds experience where the thing gets taken care of, but in a way that also allows you growth, allows you wisdom, allows you to learn something of value. And a lot of what happens with magic done in those manners is that rather than focusing your will on a specific outcome, you're focusing your will on the divine design, on relinquishing your control over a specific outcome in favor of your higher self or your soul or your guardian angel's vision of the perfect outcome. And I guarantee you that vision for the perfect outcome is guaranteed to bring you happiness. Your vision of a perfect outcome will probably not bring you happiness, because if you knew how to be happy, you would have done that by now. You would have already done that by now. So, getting too mired in these definitions of the types of magic is kind of working from a paradigm that we want to move out of completely. We don't want to say, is it high magic or low magic? We want to just say it's magic. It's magic. It's real magic. It's sort of like the difference between the right-hand path and the left-hand path. I want to use both my hands. I'm on an ambidextrous path, right? I'm on an effective magic path. I'm on a real magic path. I'm on a magic that works path. Because to say that your magic worked because you were able to cast a glamour is kind of missing the mark. Because if it really worked, the problem would be permanently solved and you'd be happy. To say that casting a glamour is a successful outcome to your magical operation is not telling the whole story. Because if it truly worked, your results would be permanent and you would be happy. You would be satisfied. But usually, if you cast a glamour, you have to do a lot of work to keep it up, to keep it going. And invariably, even as it keeps going, you get dissatisfied with it. And you realize, I'm not so happy after all. But since now you're chasing a new rabbit down a new hole, you say, well, what's the next glamour? What's the next glamour? What's the next glamour? How else can I prove how powerful I am? How else can I prove how powerful I am? And you don't really get anywhere other than you get very skilled at, as we said, rearranging chairs on the deck of the Titanic. That's what you get skilled at. And it doesn't give you any lasting joy, lasting happiness, or lasting success. But if you take all of your magical knowledge and you just change your goal just ever so slightly to this or something better according to the divine design of my life, well, all of that work that you've done to create an idea of what you think that would be the perfect outcome, visualizing your perfect outcome, all of that stuff, all of that is then used on behalf of your actual release, of your actual healing, of the actual success of your spell. It's not for nothing, but you're inviting a higher power in. You're inviting something smarter than your ego into the operation to tweak you, to tweak it, to say, yeah, we totally, we support you getting out of this problem, and we get that you think that this is the best way, and we appreciate that you've done all this homework, and we're going to underwrite your efforts, and thank you for letting us come in and alter things enough so that you can be happy. And then when things start to work out for you, you say, woo, what a miracle. I would have never thought of that. I was thinking about that the other night. I have a habit of having very bizarre things come about when my spells, manifest. There's always not always, but there's frequently some very sort of dramatic outcomes. And like we say, sometimes that isn't the best sign. Sometimes when you have a real dramatic outcome, that just means that you were really off the mark, and that spirit had to make a huge adjustment, and that's why it seemed so dramatic. But be that as it may, I do tend to have a lot of dramatic things happen. People will say, "Oh my gosh, look what you did." When people that notice them, that know that what I do, that notice that know that I'm a witch, or notice that they can see something happening in my life, they say, "Whoa, look what you did." And I always have to say, I didn't do that. My spell is not responsible for this. This is a result of my guardian angel coming in and tweaking my spell. This is a higher will than my own personal will. I could have never come up with that one. That was not part of my visualization. But since I relinquished my visualization over to a higher power, to a greater intelligence, then I gave permission to that angelic energy to come in and clean it up and upgrade it and make it actually work in ways that are permanent, that are life-changing, that bring joy, that bring happiness. Right? So it's not that I'm just doing sorcery. I'm not just doing thaumaturgy. I'm not just doing old-fashioned theurgy, where it's just like, well, relinquish the entire world, turn my back on the world, and I'm just going to be a mystic and endure the suffering of this world. That's not that either. It's a nice hybrid of real magic that actually works, that not only brings results in the physical world, but those physical results always come with a permanent healing, always come with the promise of joy, always come with the promise of satisfaction. All of the work that we've done on our lives, when we bring it to what we used to call high magic, are used on our behalf. All of the work that we've done are then used on our behalf. That higher intelligence is, like I said, able to underwrite all those old efforts to bring about wonderful changes, and nothing is wasted. But on our own, as the old-fashioned low magic is concerned, we don't have access to all that. We're not smart enough for that. We don't know all of the ins and outs of our past and our present and our future, and all of the other people involved, and the chance occurrences that might happen if we don't know all of that. We can't orchestrate every little detail. Right? So we have to find a place where we take our spells and give them over to the goddess, or we give them over to the god, or we give them over to our angel, so that they can actually flourish, and they can thrive, and they can bring us not only the relief from that one little problem, but great joy and great continuity through time of more and more and more solution, more and more and more success, more and more happiness and joy and aliveness. Otherwise, if it's just low magic or thaumaturgy, it's like taking an aspirin for a headache rather than finding the cause of the headache and eliminating the cause altogether, so that the headache doesn't come back, so that you don't need the aspirin anymore. It's the difference between having temporary relief and permanent healing. We have to remind ourselves frequently, as small egos, we are very limited in our power. But our small egos would like us to believe that we are all-powerful, that we are the only power in our lives. And that's what keeps us small. That's what keeps us powerless. But once we recognize that as a connected soul, as a soul that is connected to infinite intelligence, as a ray of light is from the sun, all-powerful, nothing that can touch us. There's nothing that we can't heal. There's nothing that we can't create. There's nothing that is going to be out of our reach. So it's very important to orient ourselves very clearly when we're doing magic, that, I'm here, I'm doing all the work that I'm supposed to do. I'm going to define the problem. I'm going to come up with my idea of what a good solution might look like. I'm going to conjure the feeling of relief from this and the manifestation of that solution. So that I'm going to have a visual of what that might look like, a feeling of what that might feel like. And all of that by itself can bring us a little bit of relief if we leave it in the realm of sorcery. And again, there's nothing wrong with sorcery. But sorcery is just the beginning of it. Then, if what we do is invite our soul, invite our angel, invite the goddess, whatever your understanding, current understanding of your higher power, your higher intelligence, that which is smarter than you, that connects you to the whole, connects you to the all. If you invite that in and say, this is my best efforts, this is the best I can come up with, please help me. They say, whoa, look at all the great work you've done. Let's just erase this part. Let's line item veto this part, and let's do this instead. We'll get back to you. Wait until you see this manifestation. It's going to be amazing, right? But see, that couldn't happen unless we did. We have to give permission. We have to give permission to the angelic realm to come in and help us and lift our sorcery up into a level of high magic, right? So you got to do both. You really have to do both. Just to say, oh, well, the divine design of my life is going to manifest and I don't have to do anything. To not do the sorcery part of it is just you being lazy, especially if you're working magic. That's being lazy. Just like, oh, you do it for me, okay? You do it for me. That's treating the angel like your waitress. Your angel is not your waitress. The goddess is not your waitress. The god is not your accountant. They're not your employees. They're not your chauffeurs. That's not what they are. You have to do your own righteous work, and that's the sorcery side of things. That's the low magic side of things. And then invite that higher intelligence in to upgrade it for you. And then when you do that, you have real magic that really works. And not only works to give you a little bump temporarily, but that really works to give you permanent solutions to your problems and to bring great joy and aliveness and healing and light to the world. As you go about your magic, remind yourself that you need both thaumaturgy and theurgy, not one or the other. All of it. All of it. That's what makes a real magician. That's what makes a real witch, is that you have it all. You have it all going. You're developing your own ability to come up with ideas, and you're also developing your own ability to relinquish those ideas in favor of something even better. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until next time, blessed be.